Sarasati Vishadine, Nivasisha Sunivadi, Pashtatara Satarine. Guys, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktavinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Just before we begin, can anyone give us a little indication or a little reminder of what we discussed last week, or what was we reading last week in our last reading of Brihat Bhagavatamrita?
Glorifying Uddhav.
Was it
Uddhava, glorifying Uddhava, that's for sure. And then Uddhava was glorifying who? I'm asking for my sake as well, because I haven't had time to sit down and see what we covered last week. So
the gopis.
Vrajavasis. He was.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Now we're beginning to speak about the Vrajavasis. Yeah. Thank you. Uddhava's sharing his visit to Vraj and the effect it had on him. Yeah, so that's correct. So Uddhava now is he's glorifying the residents of Vrindavan. So just the question.
Right? No?
Sorry?
Wrong. Is he talking to Yadavas, Yadu dynasty?
Yeah, that's it. The Krishna's personal family members.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Okay.
and of all the personal family members, the Uddhavas specifically glorified, and then Uddhava is now glorifying the Vrajavasis. So that's where we pick it up. Okay, thank you. So we have Monica Mother, you can read first.
Yes, text 40. In natural fondness for the son of Nanda, they fully dedicated everything they owned to his pleasure. Commentary. So-called love in the material world is always motivated by some selfish desire. But in Sri Vrindavan Dham, everyone loves Krishna without any motive. It may be said that unmotivated love for God is also found in Vaikuntha, but that love is restricted by the devotee's awareness of the supremacy of Narayan. In Vrindavan, the residents see Krishna just as Nanda Maharaj, his darling son, and not the lord of all existence or even the hero of the Yadu dynasty. Seeing Krishna with this attitude allows the Vrajavasis to freely express their unconditional prema bhakti. Text 41.
Hare Krishna, just 1 sec. Does anybody it's reading very fast. Sometimes it's the connection that makes it very fast. Is anybody else can hear that? Does that sound very fast for anyone?
It was normal for us. Normal for us,
okay.
Prabhu.
Must be something going on at this end. So carry on, Mother.
Sorry. Text 41. Even then, your Lord did nothing to help them. And who could bear to hear me say what he has been doing now to accomplish the goals of his other devotees? Commentary. The word swa may mean his own, indicating that the Lord's own goals are what he was busy fulfilling. But the word swa, as used here, is best understood to mean his own devotees. After Krishna went to Mathura, he satisfied his devotees there by killing Kamsa and then living with the Yadus for the rest of his life. For the Yadus, this was pleasing to hear about, but for the Vrajavasis and the sympathizers, it could be intolerable. Text 42. Sri Parikshit said, upon hearing this, the mother of the wicked Kamsa spoke out, her head shaking, her manner bold, her judgment spoiled by old age. Padmavati was not at all ashamed of being the mother of Krishna's great enemy, begotten by the son Drumala. History records that when Krishna killed Kamsa, she lamented uncontrollably, even though all intelligent persons were pleased at her son's death. Padmavati said, just see, since childhood, our Krishna has stayed in the forest full of thorns to guard the cows of those merciless cowherds. Commentary. As the name Achyuta indicates, Krishna never fails to carry out his responsibilities, even when they are troublesome. Text 44. They never even gave him shoes, and if, when tormented by hunger, he sometimes ate a little stuff made from the milk, the cowherd women punished him by tying him up. Text 45.
Just
Yes.
one note here. I can remember hearing this before. This is a classic indicator. It's a classic way. Let's use the word envious. Let's say, although I don't think she's exactly envious, but she's feeling a bit hard done by, in one sense. And here, Krishna's glories are seen through the eyes, seen through unfavorable eyes. It's described like this. So this goes on all the time. This is kind of, you could say, even the interactions within the community, in the temple, politics. One person sees one thing one way, another person sees it another. So they see it according to their mental disposition. So here, Krishna stayed in the forest full of thorns. You know, so they describe. I remember reading. I was just out of interest. I read this description of Krishna, this typical Hindu description of Krishna. It's so mundane. It said, this person, Krishna, he had a very hard childhood. And it made it out so material. It was like, it was I actually laughed at it. It was so laughable. The way they pictured Krishna, and they pictured that he was, someone who's very restless, what they call it. They cannot stay in one place, like it's a mental problem. Yeah, but that's the more generous description. But there's a name for persons who cannot concentrate on any one thing. They're always going here and going there, and it's a mental disease. So they were describing Krishna like that. Anyway, completely mundane.
Is that word now? It's bugging me.
Yeah. Anyway, I think you get the idea. So here we're hearing from our Padmavati. Interesting. She is the mother of Kamsa. Well, she was the mother of Kamsa until he was killed by Krishna. So just keep this in mind. Is now she's seeing Krishna's wonderful glories, but she's seeing it through negative eyes. Anyway, carry on, Melissa.
Okay, so
here, yeah.
Text 45. And they scolded him abusively because he was young. Krishna had no choice but to tolerate all this pain. But what does he have to do for those people now? Commentary. Angry at Krishna stealing yogurt and buttermilk, Mother Yashoda's neighbors would come to her and complain. Your son sometimes comes to our house before the milking of the cows and releases the calves. And when the master of the house becomes angry, your son merely smiles. Sometimes he devises some process by which he steals palatable curd, butter, and milk, which he then eats and drinks. When the monkeys assemble, he divides it with them. And when the monkeys have their bellies so full they won't take any more, he breaks pots. Sometimes, if he gets no opportunity to steal butter or milk from a house, he will be angry at the householders, and for his revenge, he will agitate the small children by pinching them. Then when the children begin crying, Krishna will go away. Padmavati says that the abuse Krishna tolerated was heaped upon him because of Kalagati, the movement of time. This can mean that because he was only a child, he was hardly aware of the impropriety of what the cowherds were doing to him. And in any case, it was a situation he was powerless to change. Or else it could mean he was thinking that as long as he had to stay incognito in Raj to hide from Kamsa, he would have to tolerate inconveniences. Text.
Okay, so that's Padmavati's view, but that's not Krishna's view. He eternally resides in Vrindavan, and their so-called chastising of him or speaking to him is all nectar for Krishna. It's all exchange of intimate love for Krishna. But Padmavati doesn't see it like that. Seeing it in another way.
it just
Carry
shows,
on.
I was just thinking,
Sorry?
it just shows that when a situation is happening, like everybody sees it in a different angle, different vision according to their own senses, you know, like
Yeah, according to their own.
connecting it to when Krishna came to fight in the arena, how everybody saw him in a different sense. So it's like that here. Padmavati is seeing in a completely different angle that she thinks is correct, you know.
Yeah. It's also, another guy has just put a message up that my voice is coming like very
Yes,
robotic.
it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah,
It's like faltering.
yeah,
It's
the connection is not so good. What can I do? There's not much we can do.
No.
So to carry on. But again, on this point, this is like, you could say this is like a propaganda for, in one sense. I mean, I don't want to bring any mundanity into this reading, but for example, you can see how this reflects today, that if you are living in Russia, then what's going on in Ukraine is going to be told a certain way. And if you live in if you live in Ukraine, what's being told about the Russians is going to be in a certain way. It's called propaganda. Especially it was there, obviously, in the First and Second World War. It was a very prominent. Actually, propaganda during wartime is considered one of the major weapons, and especially today with social media. So you can see this is going back here. You can see this tendency going back here. Mother Padmavati, she is speaking very harshly about the presence of Vrindavan, but she could not be more wrong. Actually, Krishna didn't feel like he was being mistreated. It was all part of his Leela. Her voice is still the same. It's robotic.
But it's okay. It's better. It's okay.
Okay, we have to. What can we do? We have to. Okay, carry on.
Do you want me to carry on, or somebody else wants to read?
Perhaps I have some more reader. And Mother Kunamai, you'd like to read from 47. Right?
6, Prabhu, 46.
46.
46, excuse me.
Yeah.
46.
Sri Parikshit said, Rohini, the darling of Raj, was fully endowed with the gravity of wisdom. Ignoring Padmavati's remarks, she went on speaking from where she had left off. Text 47.
Okay.
Sri Rohini said, then he went to Sri Mathura, the capital of Yadus. He killed many enemies, relaxed for a while, and became king of the rulers of the kings. Commentary, Vishranta, having rested, alludes to Krishna's resting at Vishramghat on the shore of Yamuna after the labor of killing the wrestlers and Kamsa. In the previous age, Krishna's incarnation, Lord Varaha, rested at the same spot after killing Hiranyaksh. Also implied by the word Vishranta is Krishna's dwelling peacefully in the city of Dwarka, which he built for himself. The Vrajvasis had little reason to hope he might return to them soon, for he had now become an established king. Text 48, now honored by countless demigods whom he has sometimes defeated and sometimes helped. This Lord of yours no longer even thinks about the residents of Raj. Commentary, Krishna humiliated Indra by stealing the Parijata tree from heaven, and he aided the demigods by killing their various opponents like Narakasura. Thus all the demigods, whether they had pure love for him or not, had to acknowledge his superior position. Being lavished with so much honor, Krishna, according to Mother Rohini, could hardly remember his former life in simple Vrindavan. Text 49, Sri Parikshit said, Krishna's dear Queen Rukmini Bhishmaka's daughter, who always lived in Krishna's heart, found these words unbearable, and so she spoke up. Commentary. Because Srimati Rukmini lived always in Krishna's heart and literally on his chest in her expansion as the goddess of Lakshmi in Vaikuntha, she perfectly knew every thought and feeling that passed through his heart. Whatever she said, therefore, carried the highest degree of authority. Text 50. Sri Rukmini said, "My dear mother, you don't understand the inner feelings of Krishna at all. His heart is softer than newly churned butter. Why are you saying these things? Just hear from me what I have heard." Commentary. Even if Rohini did understand Krishna's true feelings, she was not revealing what she knew. Text 51. Sometimes at night, he says this and that in his sleep. Sometimes in a most sweet voice, he utters names as if calling his cows. Sometimes he calls his girlfriends or some of the cowherd boys. And sometimes while asleep, he acts as if he were placing his flute to the mouth and assumes his enchanting threefold bending form. Commentary. Krishna displays the full extent of his beauty only in Vrajabhumi. Elsewhere, he does not play the flute or stand in his most attractive pose, with his feet and hands and head forming an enchanting curve. Text 52. While asleep, he sometimes says, "Mother, give me some fresh butter." Sometimes he calls out to me, "Oh, Shri Radhe," or "Oh, Lalita." Sometimes he pulls on my garments and asks me, "Chandravali, what are you doing?" And sometimes he drenches the pillow on his bed with floods of tears. Text 53. Then at times he suddenly wakes up, rises from bed and cries in a pitiful voice, drowning us in an ocean of pain and grief. Commentary. By us, Srimati Rukmini means all of Krishna's queens. Rukmini's own unique love for Krishna is free from the jealousy usually found among co-wives. Text 54. Just last night, he must have seen something in a dream, because today he has been weeping sorrowfully and is beside himself with agitation. Now he's lying in bed as if asleep, his cloth pulled over his head. He has not even performed his morning duties. Text 55.
Okay, so this brings us back to, this kind of reminds us of the scene that's going on here. Krishna hasn't woken from bed. And so they're all discussing not the Rajarasis, but the Vrishnis and the Uddhava, Rukmini and Padmavati's there, and they're all discussing about Krishna, you know. And now, interesting that was described, very interesting. Let's just go back, and we're on text 55. And the position of Rukmini, how here Krishna's dear queen Rukmini, Bhishmaka's daughter, who also lived in Krishna's heart, found these words unbearable, so she spoke as follows. And she's describing how she actually knows Krishna's heart. She describes here. Yeah, so she actually knows what the real position of Krishna. And now she's explaining what is Krishna really thinking. It's because they've given the impression that Krishna doesn't care about Vrindavan, but he does, and he cares a lot. And now this is being brought out, you know. And this is the reason why he hasn't woken up to do his duties. Yeah. So you can carry on, Mother, carry on reading. I just wanted to highlight that point. So we can picture in our mind the story, we can picture the scene within our mind as if we're watching a play. So just trying to remember the different characters are there and they're all speaking. And now Parikshit is speaking. So what's the context of his speaking? Now we're going outside the conversation.
Speaking to his mother.
Yeah, so now we're going back. There's like the Bhagavatam, there's different conversations within conversations.
Yeah.
So now Parikshit, now we're going back where he's speaking to his mother. His mother's name is
Uttara.
Uttara. Yes. So now he's speaking to Uttara. And just remember, this is before the snake bird Taksha comes.
Yeah.
After Sukadeva Goswami has left. Right from the very beginning, she wanted to hear the essence of what Sukadeva Goswami said. So here we go now. Sri Parikshit said. Yeah. So we can continue reading on 55 now.
Shall we let Raj Kishori Mataji read?
Yeah. Go ahead, my Braj Kishore.
Okay. Text 55. Sri Pariksit said, then temperamental Satyabhama, surrounded by other wives, answered back in jealous anger. She said, dear Sri Rukmini, why are you prattling on like this? Why talk only about what he does while asleep? Text 56. Even while active and awake, he seems to have his mind on something else, as if dreaming. Indeed, we are his wives only in names. His young cowherd maid servants are in fact more dear to him than we are. Commentary. As Satyabhama and other queens witnessed, even in the middle of the day, Krishna often acted as if his mind were in Braj. He would call out to his cows, his friends, his gopis, just as Rukmini testified he did in his sleep. Text 57. Sri Parikshit said, blessed the Baladeva, the darling son of Rohini and the intimate friend of all Gokul, couldn't tolerate hearing these words. Angrily, he spoke in reply. Commentary. Lord Baladev, siding with his mother, was dissatisfied with the way the other queens had interpreted Krishna's behavior. Text 58. Sri Baladev said, dear ladies, all this is nothing but my brother's clever deception. He is intent upon speaking about the misery.
We are intent.
We are.
We are intent.
Oh, we are intent upon speaking about the miseries of the residents of Raj, misery all too real, and he is simply cheating us. Commentary. Lord Baldev called the Brajvasis unhappiness sahaj, natural or real. According to Lord Balram, the devotees in Krishna's Dwarka entourage had every reason to be concerned about the plight of their counterparts in Braj. Krishna's apparent distress, however, should not be taken seriously because he obtains pleasure only from deceiving others and will therefore go to any extreme to create an illusion. He has put on a show of being distracted by memoirs of Braj just to please his Dwarka devotees and give them a taste of the ecstasy of separation, even while present with them. Everything Krishna has said about the Vrajvasis' distress in separation from him has some basis in reality, but he has manipulated the facts to create a false appearance that he feels similarly about the Vrajvasis. Text 59. I stayed there in Vraj for 2 months and tried to restore the Vrajvasis to normal, but nothing I said or did was of any avail. Commentary. While visiting Braj, Lord Balaram had tried to console the devotees by assuring them that Krishna was very much afflicted by the separation from them, and that certainly in a few days he would finish killing all the enemies in Mathura and come back home. Balaram also did other things to relieve the Vrajvasis' distress. For example, he performed water sports in the Yamuna and constructed new buildings in various places for Krishna to enjoy in upon his return. Text 60. Seeing no other way to achieve my purpose, I made hundreds of promises to them and with great effort finally consoled them to some extent. Then I managed to pull myself away and hurried back here. Commentary. Lord Balram concluded that only Krishna's returning to Vraj would forestall disaster. Lord Balram had done everything he could to convince the Vrajvasis that Krishna would soon be coming. He had told them that now he was going to Dwarka to bring Krishna personally. But even after offering so many assurances, Balram had been obliged to pry himself away from Vraj by force. No one had wanted to let him leave. Text 61. Sorry, hold on. I'll have to put my battery on. 1 minute.
Okay, I'll continue. Krishna, please find some excuse to go to your cowherd village just once and save the lives of the people there. You can pick it up, Mother Rajkishore, from the commentary.
Whereabouts? Number 61?
Yeah.
Number 61. I anxiously requested Krishna, please find some excuse to go to your cowherd village just once and save the lives of the people there. Commentary. The cowherd community was made up of Krishna's own people, with whom he had enjoyed the pleasures of his childhood. Now that they were drowning in an ocean of misery, he surely ought to be willing to visit Vraj once to save them. Text 62. From his mouth he said, certainly I shall go. But in his heart he thought otherwise. Indeed, the truth about a person's mind can be known from how he acts. Commentary. Speaking one way while acting in another is proof that one intends to deceive. 63. Sri Parikshit said, hearing this, the personality of Godhead, who is ruled by the love of those dear to him, suddenly got up from his bed and came outside, loudly weeping. Text 64. From his fully blossoming lotus eyes rained the flood of tears. With choking voice, tormented by compassion for others, he spoke as follows. Commentary. An inferior person cares only for his own welfare, whereas a virtuous person thinks about para anugraha, compassionate help for others. Krishna's paran anugraha is unlimited. Taking the word para in the sense of enemies, we can understand that he is compassionate even to those who hate him. Certainly, therefore, he would not neglect his devotees. It's 65. The Supreme Lord said, yes, it is true. My heart is made of solid diamond. I must be so because
it must be so, yeah.
It must be so because it has not yet split in half. Text 66. Those devotees took care of me for so long, from the very beginning of my childhood, and still I have forgotten all about their exceptional love. Text 67. Be that as it may, I must somehow do something to help them. I have indeed been cruel to have caused those gentle souls such extreme grief. Text 68. Oh, brother Uddhava, you know everything and you are the best of my dear friends. Please tell me at once what I should do. Please lift me from this ocean of distress. Text 69. Sri Parikshit said, Devaki was loving to her son and was a dear friend to Nand's wife. She said, you should give your best well-wishers whatever they want. Commentary. Mother Devaki anticipated that Uddhava's reply would likely inspire Krishna to leave for Gokul. So she interrupted. Before Uddhav could speak, she suggested to Krishna that he placate the Vrajvasis some other way than by returning. Text 70 to 72. Then fear.
So there's lots of, so there's, again, this will make a wonderful play. You can imagine there's different scenes. So here, Devaki, she understands where this is going, what Uddhava is going to suggest, and she wants nothing of it. Yeah. So she's speaking up. She's interrupting Uddhava. So here we're getting a wonderful insight into the different relationships of Krishna's devotees. You know, the mood of Palaram, in his specific mood. And now Krishna has woken up. Krishna's woken up. Now he's himself, he's going to reveal his heart. But there's, again, this feelings, as we know, Sambhoga means to meet Krishna, and Ripalanda means separation. This is a constant theme in every devotee, as we've been hearing, goes through these experiences of Sambhoga and Ripalamba. Like, for instance, when Krishna enters a forest and he plays the flute, all the trees are in great ecstasy, and Krishna's playing the flute to tell them, I am now coming. And all the shrubs and all the bees and all the residents of the forest, the animals, they're all so happy. They've been separated from him for so long, one night. And of course, on the other side, then we got the residents of the village. They're feeling Mother Yasoda, they're feeling great separation. And when Krishna goes to Dwarka, when he leaves Dwarka, when he's in Indraprastha, and when the battle of Kurukshetra's finished and the prayers of Queen Kunti, Maharaj Yudhishthira, at one point he convinces Krishna to stay longer. Anyway, we know that you get the scene. This is a constant theme in Krishna's pastimes. So we're going right into this now, in Krishna's mood in regards to his relationship with the Rajvasis. So let's see what the Vrishnis, how they argue these different points. Okay, you can continue reading another couple of verses.
Text 70 to 72. Then, fearing that the kingdom was about to be given away, old Padmavati, the Lord's grandmother, the queen of the Yadu king Ugrasen, gathered her muddled wits and cleverly Pagna, a joking spirit. To protect her husband's domain, she spoke up again, even though Balram's mother had snubbed her by ignoring her previous remarks. Invoking eloquence, Padmavati tried to change the mood to bring Krishna, the exclusive shelter of the Yadu dynasty, back to normal. Commentary. In her own way, Padmavati has good intentions. She saw that unless Krishna could be calmed down, the whole Yadu clan faced destruction. He might even offer to turn the rule of Dwarka over to Nanda and cowherds. To avert such danger, Padmavati tried a humorous distraction. Text 73 to 75. Padmavati said, Krishna, why should you lament? Just listen to my advice. While living 11 years in the home of Nandagopa, you two brothers enjoyed various comforts. For that, I swear my husband will repay Nanda twice over. My husband will see to it that Garg Muni calculates the amount of the smallest fraction and delivers it by his own hand. And if Nanda owes you payment for tending his cows, let him pay you or not as he wishes. Commentary. For 11 years, Ugrasen's grandson, Krishna, lived and enjoyed in the house of Nanda Maharaj. Krishna might not take seriously Padmavati's idea to reimburse Nanda Maharaj and satisfy him with money. But even if Krishna became amused by it, her purpose of changing Krishna's mood will be achieved. She reminds Krishna that her husband, Ugrasen, is very generous and will not hesitate to pay twice whatever might be owed. And even if Nand fails to remunerate Krishna and Balram for their cow tending, that is a small concern. In settling the accounts, Nand may not want to accept anything extra from Ugrasen, and that will be all the better. So there is no need to annoy Nand Maharaj over the small amount for the salaries of Krishna and Balram. Garg Muni is the best person to calculate the payment because he is an excellent astrologer, accustomed to making careful mathematical reckonings of the configurations of planets. Moreover, Though not saying so, Padmavati thinks that if the scrupulous Garga
Scrupulous,
scrupulous Garga
scrupulous.
decides the amount to pay and delivers it himself, the cowherds will not get more than they deserve. Since Nanda is only a cowherd, he is not used to having much wealth other than his stock of milk products. The expenses for the two brothers should be repaid, but not those of Rohini and maid servants who had stayed with her in Braj, because she had insulted Padmavati by ignoring her previous comments. Padmavati was...
Yeah, can we just... Yeah, sorry, carry on.
Padmavati is correct in figuring the duration of Krishna's stay in Vraj as 11 years. Srimad Bhagavatam 3.2.26 confirms this. Thereafter, fearing Kamsa, Krishna's father brought Krishna to the cowherd pastures of Maharaj Nand, and there Krishna lived for 11 years like a covered flame with his elder brother Baladev. This statement of Uddhava does not imply that after 11 years of living in Braj incognito, Krishna and Balram came out of hiding and continued living in Braj for several years more. After all, when Akrura came to take the two brothers away from Gokul, he saw that they were in the Kishore age. That is, they were young adolescents. He saw Krishna and Balram in the village of Braj going to milk cows. Krishna wore yellow garments, Balram blue, and their eyes resembled autumnal lotuses. The two shelters of the goddess of fortune were in the Kishore age, one of them with dark blue complexion and other white. Bhagavatam 10:38, 28 to 29. Again, when the two lords arrived in Mathura and entered Kansa's arena to join the wrestling competition, the women of the city described them as adolescents. The two professional wrestlers have limbs as strong as lightning bolts and bodies resembling mighty mountains. What comparison can there be between those wrestlers and these two young, immature boys with exceedingly tender limbs? Bhagavatam 10:4-8. It is generally understood that the Kaishore period of the youth begins in one's 11th year. According to the Vedic injunctions, Kshatriyas in particular are supposed to receive their sacred trade initiation in the 11th year. And so it was that Krishna and Balram took initiation at that age, right after killing Kansa. In the arena after Kansa's death, Krishna told Sri Vasudev and Devaki, because of us, your two sons, you always remained in anxiety and could never enjoy our childhood, boyhood, or youth. Bhagavatam 10:45-3. Although Krishna and Balram had just entered the Kishore age, the supreme heroic prowess they were showing in Mathura covered the natural charm of their youth. Thus, Vasudev and Devaki were not able to experience the sweetness of the boys in their adolescence. In other words, although Krishna's beauty is described as that of the full-grown youth, this does not mean he had passed beyond the Kishore age. As an alternative explanation of Krishna's statement to his parents, we can accept that when Krishna and Balram came to Mathura, they were actually at the end of their Kishore age, in their 15th year. The poetry of Sri Bilva Mangal Thakur gives evidence that in some of the later pastimes before leaving Vrindavan, Krishna manifested symptoms of a full-grown youth and even acted as an adult. A child may act like an adult by displaying some special strength or skill. A 15th year is especially attractive because at that age, the body reaches adulthood at its peak of youthful beauty. But because Krishna was supremely gentle by nature, his 15th year seemed like a beginning of his Kishore period, and his period of depth for enjoying Nanda Maharaj's milk products is still calculated as only 11 years, since for the first 4 years, he was an infant sucking his mother's breast. In this way, we can reconcile the contradiction that seemed to appear among various statements, some saying he was a new adolescent and other a full-grown youth.
Okay, thank you, Robert. That's quite a long purport. Yeah, many points are brought up there. Perhaps, any specific questions or reflections on this? I was trying to understand Mother Padmavati's joke. I couldn't quite grasp it myself. Here, she's in let me just read this again, hope you don't mind. Krishna, she said, Krishna, why should you lament? Just listen to my advice. While living 11 years in the home of Nandagopa, you two brothers enjoyed various comforts. For that, I swear my husband will pay twice over. Okay, I get it. So she's joking, obviously, she's joking. Why is she joking? She's trying to
The mood.
distract the conversation. Yeah, it's the mood. She's trying to distract the conversation from where it might be going. My husband will see to it that Gargamuni calculates the amount. So astrologers are known for actually, I remember when I was in India one time, in South India, I went, the person I was staying with, who put me to see his friend who was an astrologer. So I was glorifying him, and he didn't think, he said an astrologer is just a mathematician. Because that's what they do. They just calculate the time of the different different movements of the sun and the planets. But still, Padmavati here, she is quite an interesting character. Again, to forget, she's the mother of Kamsa. She's the mother of Kamsa. That's correct, isn't it? She's the mother of Kamsa, and the wife of Ugrasena. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she has this particular mood. Anyone else want to bring out any particular points which struck them of hearing this very lengthy purport, these few verses, or just in general? Yeah, this discussion that's brought up is quite a. I know my Guru Maharaj speaks quite a bit about this Krishna's different age and how he is perceived. So he's not like an ordinary adolescent. And as you know, also in the Nectar of Devotion, Krishna's different ages of he initiate particular rasas. So specifically at the age of adolescence, youth, 14, 15, and that's when his pastimes with the gopis is very prominent. Yeah. Although he's from if we could say, material point of view, he is quite young, but because he's the Supreme Lord, he matures a lot faster. So it can be said also he is he's 15. Interesting, he said the age of 15, one is considered to be, what did it say that? One's youth begins at 11. One's at 15. The 15th year is especially attractive because at that age, the body reaches adulthood. Okay. And its peak of youthful beauty. So Jugala Kishore, the youthful Radha and Krishna. So sometimes there's misunderstanding about Krishna's age. So this has been brought out here. And Gopi Pranadhan is helping us to reconcile, which he said here, these contradictions. So if you want to study this purport understanding, you might have to take notes to kind of follow it in detail. As said, and his period of debt for enjoying, so this again, it's a joke inside. So he's in debt for enjoying Nanda Maharaj's milk products. It's calculated 11 years. Okay. for various reasons. For the first 4 years, he was suckling his mother's breast. Anyway, wonderful conversation between these devotees. Right, we've got 10 minutes left. Perhaps if no one else has a hand, I'll dive in and read. Any questions?
Yeah, I was
Please,
thinking, you know, when you said Padmavati was joking, I was thinking on another angle. I was thinking being in that position that her husband Ugrasen could pay and could sort all these things out. So I was thinking that she might be feeling a bit kind of proud. No? Am I thinking wrong way?
Yeah, she's after all, she's the wife of
Because she's in that position,
ruler.
like, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
And then
consider so
Rohini didn't let her you know, when she said something to Rohini, she didn't reply. So I was thinking maybe that was like setting her up, you know.
yeah, it is. It's correctly seen. So in one sense, being the wife of the
King.
emperor, the king or the emperor, she has the right to be a little bit proud, if you could say that. But that's her mood.
Yeah,
But it's not pride in the extent that she's
No.
going to be grossly materialistic. But it is again, this is Krishna's pastimes,
Mhm.
and he's human, very human-like pastimes. So there's many different characters, you know. So you got the wife of the king. She has a particular mood, and we heard about the mood of Rukmini as well, and other queens. So yeah, this is a spiritual world. It's not at all. It's not a great white light. And some people in persons try to, you know, explain that there is nothing. It is all zero. No, it's full of exchanges. But it's all based. But all these persons have a pure heart, and they're all very naturally, spontaneously attracted to Krishna. So the whole conversation about Krishna, the whole conversation is about Krishna. So sometimes there will be, in order for Krishna to stay, they're going to do everything they can, even joke, even paint picture, or even tell things in another way to keep Krishna in their midst. You know? Right, a few minutes left. Let's read text 76. Sri Krishna said, although the personality of Godhead must have heard these words, he pretended he had not. Driven by sorrow, he then inquired from Uddhava as though ignorant. So Krishna's playing a game now.
Yes.
Commentary. Not holding Padmavati's suggestions in high esteem, Krishna chose to ignore them. He knew very well what was required of him, what the Vrajavasis wanted. But because of sharing the distress of his devotees, he seemed unaware of these things. He responded to his own discomfort by asking for Uddhava's advice. So what can someone say what is required of him and the Vrajavasis? What's required of Krishna?
That he should go to Vrindavan.
Simple as that.
Simple
He
as
should go,
that.
and what do the Vrajavasis want? That he comes back to Vrindavan.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I was thinking,
But Krishna knows this.
Yes. Of course he knows it.
So he's ignoring Padmavati. She spoke, and now I'm going to ask Uddhava's advice, because what's Uddhava going to say? Going to say? You could guess what he's going to say. Yeah, so it's a nice mood that Krishna's acting as if he doesn't know what to do. He's getting ignorant. So in other words, he's very clever because then he's not going to be blamed. Uddhava's the one who's going to advise him to go, so he can, well, it wasn't me, it was Uddhava. So
that reminds me of that situation when he asked Uddhava, should I go and see Maharaj Yudhishthir, or should I go and fight with, who was that king that he fought so many? Jarasandha.
Yeah, Jarasandha.
Uddhava gave an answer in such a way that both will be satisfied, but in a different way. But Krishna knew what he wanted to do, but he got Uddhava to give him the answer.
Yeah. okay, you can look at, you can add, yeah, from understanding what's going on here, perhaps we can understand what was going on in that situation. Another time, the Rali saying perhaps Krishna knew. Well, of course, Krishna knows everything.
Yeah.
But here, this is again Uddhava. Uddhava is very, very intelligent. So, did we read the purple of the commentary? We
No.
did, yeah. I think.
Did?
No, we did. So let's just hear. Not holding Padmavati's, anyway, we'll read it again, even if we did. Not holding Padmavati's suggestions high esteem, Krishna chose to ignore them. He knew very well what was cried of him, yeah, we did, and what the Vrajavasis wanted. But because of sharing the distress of his devotees, he seemed unaware of these things. So he seemed unaware. He responded to his own discomfort by asking for Uddhava's advice. The Supreme Lord said, "O best of learned scholars, you know all the faults of the residents of Braj. Please tell me without delay what is it they desire?" Commentary. This inquiry stems from Mother Devaki's proposal to offer the Vrajavasis whatever they want. Krishna understands that no presentation of gifts will placate the devotees in Vraj, since all they want from him is that he grace them with his presence. By approaching Uddhava for counsel, however, Krishna is able, as I said, is able to free himself from responsibility for the decision. If Uddhava advises him to go to Vrindavan, no one will stop him. What first drove Krishna to inquire from Uddhava was anxiety, but now a second reason for taking his opinion has come to Krishna's mind. Sri Parikshit said, having heard these words from the Lord, the despondent Uddhava was taken aback. He sighed briefly and then answered, full of remorse. Commentary. In the extreme ecstasy of prema, this state of affairs, let me read that again. In the extreme ecstasy of prema, this state of affairs evoked. Uddhava's discrimination fouled him. Not recognizing the intended meaning of Krishna's statement that he wanted to visit Raj, Uddhava instead took Krishna's words as face value and thought he wanted to placate his devotees with gifts. Thus, Uddhava thought that Krishna, although all-knowing and supremely merciful, wanted to continue deceiving the Vrajavasis. Uddhava was discouraged to see Krishna behaving like this with his loving devotees. Okay, so Uddhava's got it wrong here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Uddhava thinks that Krishna is suggesting not going to Vrindavan. Take some gifts to pacify them. Take some notes. Take some gifts. So Uddhava is misunderstanding Krishna, which is interesting because Uddhava knows Krishna's mind, but here he's taken it. He's got hold of the wrong end of the stick. We heard that saying. So let's see what comes next. Uddhava said, the people of Raj don't want from you the power and wealth of emperors, nor for the enjoyments found in heaven, nor anything else obtainable in this world or the next. They desire nothing else but you. They want Krishna. Kindly favor me with your attention. Think over about what I am about to say and then act as if you see fit. Before, when the cowherds met Nanda and saw the jewels and other gifts you had sent them, they spoke with one another, all of them immersed in an ocean of grief. The event Uddhava is narrating occurred just after Krishna killed Kamsa. The jewelry Krishna sent was meant mainly for the women of Raj, the older gopis headed by Mother Yasoda and the younger gopis headed by Sri Radhika. Uddhava, however, does not here disclose this confidential fact. Oh, how very painful. Krishna now thinks we want such presents from him and deserve this kind of mercy. Krishna seemed to have changed his attitude towards the Vrajavasis. Previously, he would never have treated them in such an apparently uncaring way. Text 83. I'll just read this text. Let's see how long the purple is. Okay, we'll finish on this text, 83. It's getting quite an exciting discussion, isn't it? Here between the Rajrasis. So, most we can do is read and hear it for the moment. Well, it's wonderful to hear. Okay, text 83. Therefore, damn our lives and the breath that still shows in our throats, and damn Nanda and the cowherd men. They should have left these things behind and instead brought Krishna himself. So remember when Nanda Maharaj went back in order to pacify the Vrajavasis, when he came with a Kura, and then Krishna stayed there, then he went back with gifts. And so this is their mood on that. Damn our lives and damn Nanda and the cowherd men. They should have left those things behind, instead brought Krishna himself. Commentary. Abandoned by Krishna, the devotees of Raj lived on the verge of death. Still they condemned themselves for shamelessly holding on to the last breath of life in their throats while Krishna was absent. That's a common expression of prema. Even Lord Chaitanya, he described that if I had separation from Krishna, then I wouldn't be living now. Yeah, I haven't. The fact that I'm living proves that I have no attachment to Krishna. Affectionate Nanda, of course, could hardly have refused anything his son desired, but he should not have expected the Vrajavasis to be satisfied with material gifts. Okay, so they wanted Krishna. What's this cloth? What about Krishna? You didn't bring him back. What's these gifts? And so begins their lamentation, deep lamentation, which is very, very deep. It was on the verge of death.
Yes.
Okay, unfortunately, we're stopped here for today, and let's hopefully pick it up next week. I shall confirm that over the weekend, okay? So thank you, everyone, for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the reading. More reading today, some discussion, but wonderful to hear these pastimes.
Yeah.
Okay. I wish you all a good weekend and wish you all the best, and hopefully begin next Monday. Let's see. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Bol, Holy Prabhu ki jai.